Good evening, everyone. I would like to read the Pembroke Land Acknowledgement Statement. As we gather today, I would respectfully acknowledge on behalf of Council and the community that the City of Pembroke resides on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We thank the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. It is with this statement that we honor and respect the Algonquins on whose land we reside. I'll now formally call this meeting of the Planning and Development Committee to order. Councillor Purcell will be joining us electronically this evening. Disclosures of pecuniary interests and general nature thereof. Do we have any disclosures this evening? Seeing none. The approval of the agenda the approval of the amendment of a meeting agenda or amendments moved by Councillor Plummer, seconded by Councillor Keel. Corrections, omissions, those in favor? Carried, thank you. The approval of the minutes, Planning and Development Committee of December 2nd, 2025, moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Errors or omissions? None. Those in favor? Against? Carried, thank you. Any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none, we'll move on to presentations and delegations. Good evening. Good evening. We're very fortunate this evening to have with us from Algonquin College for presentation, Angela Rentoul, the Dean. Welcome, Ms. Rentoul. And also Jody Buchholz, the Manager of Community and Student Affairs. Very good to have you here this evening for an informative session, I'm sure. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. Really appreciate the opportunity to give an update on the Pembroke campus. I'm going to kick us off with an overview of our student profile as it stands right now. So those of you who might recall last year, the presentation that was delivered in delegation, you'll see that the numbers of students who reside within the city limits is roughly the same. So we're holding steady at 25% of our student population for the fall of 25. At 101 students, first-year students, I should say, reside within the City of Pembroke limits. So that's a very healthy student population that does recognize as local. And we are just on the pinnacle of welcoming new students for our winter term. So we will be welcoming an additional 95 new students that will be starting with us this winter in the Bachelor of Science in Nursing Pathway program. So that's for students who are interested, who are registered as registered practical nurses, who are now pursuing their Bachelor of Science in Nursing to become registered nurses. We also are welcoming a new cohort of electrical technique apprenticeship students, personal support worker, practical nursing, and similar to the Bachelor of Science in Nursing, but in relation to the practical nursing program, we have our practical nursing pathway program for students or graduates of personal support worker who are now interested in pursuing their practical nursing to get their registered practical nurse certification. So we will have those 95 new students on campus this Friday for orientation. We are grateful to have the City Transit Group there as well to promote the new on-demand transit system. Which is still such an amazing thing that we can offer, a service we can offer to our students. At the bottom of the slide, you'll see too that our students who recognize them or self-identify as Indigenous, so that's First Nations, Métis, or Inuit, has actually increased. We're at 11% of our overall student population is currently self-identifying as Indigenous. Not very dissimilar to what we've shown in the past, but always interesting to see the student population by provinces and territory. You can see up on the screen, though we don't have a lot of students from other provinces or territories, you can see the number of students from other provinces and territories. So we have a pretty wide swath of our national population who make their way to the Pembroke campus. Predominantly from Ontario and Quebec, which is no surprise, but again, we do have quite a diverse student population from a national perspective. Countries represented, so as it stands right now, 17% of our student population is international students versus 83% of domestic. So that is still a very healthy balance between domestic and local students, of course, and our international student population. Of that 17%, 59% of those students are from India, and the remaining students come from 20 different countries across the globe. So again, that student population, though predominantly from India, is still healthy and diverse. So you can see there that you might see some surprising countries like Fiji, as well as Tanzania is a new one for us this year. So with that, there is cultural awareness that comes with our faculty and our support staff. And so learning the cultures of those different countries is paramount to make sure that our students, no matter where they're from, have that sense of belonging when they step foot on the Pembroke campus and into our community. When we look at that gender distribution, we do have 37% identify as male, and 61% identify as female, and 2% are undeclared. So we have seen a little bit of a skew towards a heavier population that self-identifies as female, and that's not surprising given that we do have an increased healthcare population on campus with more intakes. And so that, again, is a little higher of a gender distribution that we've seen in previous years, but makes sense related to our program demographics. And now I'm going to give the floor to Angela.
Thank you. So full-time programs, these do not include any of our apprenticeship or shorter-term programming. So just to have a broad look at the number of full-time programs that we offer at the campus, it's quite a large number. Our newest program in there is just been approved for our Bachelor of Science in Nursing program. So it's a 4-year degree with the ability to do it in 3 years and 4 months. So it's accelerated, not condensed, because research shows condensed nursing programs do not really work because of the amount and the volume of learning that has to be done. It's not something that is easily delivered condensed. Therefore, we are offering it in an accelerated fashion, so there's less breaks. So they will have one less semester and graduate a little sooner. That is a program that's being offered both Ottawa and here. We're approved at both sites to launch, and we take our first intake of those students fall 26. The University of Ottawa collaborative students that we're currently training will continue to stay here and finish out their degree, so there'll be a teach out of the cohort that we just took in fall 25. So they're going to be with us for another 3 years after this, but our batch of students that are coming in fall will be, from then on, it will be just intaking to Algonquin students only. Sorry? Okay. One other thing to mention is the Stay and Learn grant. So the practical nursing 2-year diploma and the Bachelor of Science in Nursing both qualify for the Stay and Learn grant through the government. So we've been showing an increased number of domestic in those programs because of that. It's you have to be a domestic student. You have to be in Ontario, willing to stay in Ontario and work when you're done training to qualify for that grant. If you choose to leave the province, it becomes a loan. So it's an incentive through the Department of Health to keep people here when they're finished their nursing. The other new program that we are offering is the electrical techniques. So it's an 8-month certificate program. This, as you may know, with apprenticeship, in order to get into the level 1 apprenticeship in any program, you actually have to have some hours. And it used to be that if you wanted to be a plumber or an electrician, you'd go work at your uncle's business for a little while, get some hours under your belt, and then you would go on to do your apprenticeship. The problem is that those opportunities are not very abundant. You actually now have to find an employer willing to hire you with no skills whatsoever, maybe fresh out of high school. And you have to get some hours under your belt, learning under a Red Seal trained person. And that's not easy to do. A lot of places won't take a gamble and hire someone just off the street. So this electrical techniques program actually allows them to come in straight out of high school, no experience, and we give them those hours. So they train with us for 8 months, and then they actually get most of their level 1 apprenticeship. As you see, we also offer that. By the time they get there, they get most of that level 1 apprenticeship coursework done. And so then they can actually then go out to a business and say, hey, I have my hours in, I've done my level 1, and I'm looking for a job. Just a little bit better to get into that field. And so we're offering that in terms of an electrician. I believe we also do it with our carpentry program as
that's
well.
correct.
So we've been doing that for a while with our carpentry. We do a pre-apprentice program for carpentry, and it offers them the same. And we get a lot of OYAP students out of the high schools coming into that program as well.
Which is the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program. So we usually have a mixture of apprentice and youth apprentice who are taking their level 1, 2, or 3, depending on the apprenticeship program, on campus at the same time, which is always really amazing to see in the classroom.
So when you look at this mix of programming, one thing to keep in mind is that it is constantly being assessed against community need, relevancy, and viability. So those things are something that we're constantly monitoring. And if we do end up having to remove a program, we will be replacing it with something else. Currently, we have in development right now 2 nuclear programs, and they're due to be ready to launch fall 27, and that is the nuclear decommissioning grad certificate, as well as a RAD safety certificate. And they will bookend our current program, Applied Nuclear Radiation Safety, which is a 2-year diploma. So we have a lot of new programming ideas coming forward, and we're exploring anywhere we can. So if there are ideas that you have, we certainly welcome a sit down and let's talk about it, and let's see what can be done. Forestry technician, some of the things we've been doing in our programs with respect to the community. There was a tree planting in September that was in collaboration with Canadian Nuclear Laboratories and the Pembroke Horticultural Society. College students planted 25 large trees in the Pansy Patch Park to help rehabilitate the park space after the loss that was experienced of the butternut and ash trees. In the fall, just this past fall, members of the County of Renfrew Paramedic Service hosted what's called a point of care ultrasound, otherwise known as POCUS, and they did training for paramedics across Ontario. So they brought in paramedics from across the province and offered this training, and they did it in collaboration with us using our nursing labs. And in total, there was 5 sessions, and we had 320 volunteers from the community in there as patients, and it brought a number of from all age groups, elderly to the youth, and it brought in people that had never been to the campus before, and they were really impressed with our facilities. The paramedics are wanting to do 6 more sessions with us in the coming year, so it was very successful. Carpentry and renovation techniques and carpentry apprentice students this is a picture of them with the new baseball storage facility we built for the city of Pembroke at Riverside Park. There were many other community projects done over the last year, including a double washroom facility built for Camp Lorraine. One side had a shower, toilet, sink, while the other side just had a toilet and sink. And the students collaborated with the electrical program to wire that particular structure. So there was a collaboration between programs to do that. Healthcare programs, so another sort of collaboration we did was with the Pembroke Regional Hospital and the residents there. So the residents that have come up to the Pembroke Regional Hospital need somewhere to go and do their simulation training. It's part of the things that they have to do during their residency. And normally they were going to Ottawa to access labs at the Ottawa University and other places. So we made a connection with them and they came in and used our labs and they were amazed. Some of the students that came during the time, they said that they were some of the best labs that they've been into. And these were students from University of Toronto, University of Ottawa, and so they were very impressed with our capabilities here. And we're continuing to work with the residency program, and we're now working on something with the chief of emergency. He wants to have his locums rotating through there as well to do some training and upskilling, just to keep their skills sharp. So that's about it.
A little bit of an overview of what is going on campus, that it is a busy, bustling, thriving campus community.
Questions, members of council? Deputy Mayor, Councillor Plummer.
I just have a comment, then I have a question. First of all, thank you very much for the update. Colleges have always been, the applied sciences and the trades, and very impressive to see this list of programs here, especially this electrical techniques 8-month certificate, and then they take their apprenticeship, so they're ready. And then the new nuclear science programs coming up, that's applicable to the area. We have a CNL up the road there, and the nursing and all the trades, the carpentry, and so your program is really flexible. We're so fortunate to have the college in our community. We talk about community partnerships a lot here at council, and thank you so much I didn't know about the teaching hospital, very impressive. The Pansy Patch Park with the Horticultural Society, the County of Renfrew, the sheds and everything being built for Camp Loren and the Waterfront Park, so that we're really thankful for that. And thank you again, Jody. We're sitting on a transit committee and it's doing well, and part of that success is due to the partnership with the college. So we're very thankful for that. Just a question, the nuclear, applied nuclear science and radiation safety 2-year diploma, do you get students, a lot of students from outside the area, like outside of Pembroke catchment, or is it mostly Pembroke area, or do you get some from other nuclear research facilities?
Yep, that's a great question. We actually have a diverse student population. So not only do we have some international students, because this is applicable globally, but we have about a 50-50 split between local demographic as well as those who typically center around the Port Hope region, around the Kincardine region where Bruce Power and Ontario Power Generation is located. So it's about a 50% local and 50% from across the province, and a little bit into the international student population.
Do other facilities, educational facilities, offer that program in Canada?
There's only one other college in Ontario that offers a 1-year certificate. So Georgian College offers a 1-year certificate. So we, by introducing kind of the entire complement of having a 1-year radiation safety certificate program, 2-year applied nuclear science and radiation safety diploma program into the nuclear decommissioning graduate certificate, we're going to have really corner the market across the province in educating nuclear professionals.
No, that's excellent.
And the decommissioning grad cert will also apply to trades.
Oh.
So it's not just, you don't have to have done any background in nuclear. If you are a tradesperson working with nuclear waste, like if you're, so for instance, when they tear down a building that has nuclear waste in it, there's electrical, there's carpentry, there's all of those trades are coming in there to dismantle. And so the decommissioning grad cert can be taken in addition to engineer training or whatever it may be, where you have to use your credentials to go in and do a portion of that decommissioning.
Okay, well, that's great.
And knowing that decommissioning is a very long process,
Yeah.
there is job security in that level of specialization.
Right, especially with the large campus they have at CNL. Thanks again.
Councillor Plummer, your worship.
Thank you again for coming in. How many students are at the college right now? I didn't see that on.
We do have over the entire academic year, we're at just under 1,000 students.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, how would you compare that to, say, a few years ago when we had, like back in 2020? Are we back like I remember the big push was to get 1,000, and that was, I think, pre-COVID, and then obviously things happened there, and your enrollment went down. So,
Yep.
where are we at now?
We are back on par with where we were
Okay.
pre-COVID.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, are you say you're at capacity for the college, or is there room for more students to come in?
We have about, I would say our hard capacity is around the 1150 mark, where it starts to become a little tight. But I think that even right now, we are having more and more evening programming for academic programs. So we're using the space a lot.
Right. No, that's good. And then, we always towns are normally built around college and bringing people in and bringing new people in. It's hard to bring housing and families, and there's only so many jobs. But if you have a good school that people want to travel to, they may stick around once they see what's here. So, is there any plans for future expansion of the college down the way, or is it just that's your size currently, and we're just going to run with that?
Well, at the moment, we run most of our programming between the hours of 8 a.m. to, I say our last class is around 7 p.m. Monday to Friday. We aren't open weekends, so we still have room to grow if we need to. And that's 1,000, 1,150 at once. So again, we have different intakes. We have level ones coming in now in winter, spring, and fall. Our healthcare programs, our heaviest semester at the moment in terms of population is winter, because that's generally where our health programs converge on one another. And they have all 4 levels running at once in practical nursing. We have all 2 levels running in PSW. So we're starting to, it's like we're growing this way and this way, but we're not at our capacity yet. So until we hit that point, I mean, I would love a trades building. I really would.
On site.
Yeah, on site. We lease a space, which is great for the community, for our carpentry program. But I'd love to have a trades building in here. But we need to grow those programs first. We need to make sure we show that there's a need for it. And the current state of the college, we can dream big at the moment and aim for that. But right now, with the college system the way it is, growth in any college right now is just not possible. Hopefully, in a couple more years, that will be a different story. We'll be sitting here talking differently.
Great. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
But the fact that we are sustaining our student population is definitely noteworthy if you look at it across other colleges in Ontario.
Your worship, Councillor Purcell.
So thank you, Dean and Ms. Bulkos, for your presentation. The first point that I would make is that we around this council table understand the necessity of having partnerships, and we know that the college is extremely receptive to assisting others. Sometimes it amazes me that when we're out and about talking to others, that possibly some others don't recognize the amount of things that the college does do, and so it's very helpful to get a presentation like this, not only for our benefit, but for the community at large that watches our YouTube feed and so forth and understands everything that the college does do for the community and is assisting in so many different ways. I know that you know, but it's for the benefit of everybody, including the public, that as a council we continue, and you're sort of touching on it, but not saying a heck of a lot about it, but it's this business of the province and the appropriate funding for colleges. And so certainly the commitment from this council is to continue to advocate on your behalf and with you to the province, whether it be AMO, Eastern Ontario Mayor's Caucus, Roma, you name it, to try and ensure that the province gets it, that the importance of that college in our community is huge. And so you can offer the best courses in the world, but it's that there has to be an appropriate level of funding to run it. I know that we've talked before when we were doing a video one time, and then you said it is a business, and that's the reality of it, is you're trying to educate individuals, our future, and so forth, but it's also a business, and it has to be able to be ran that way, and that's just a reality of it. Really find it interesting in terms of the different courses and the willingness to pivot and come up with different courses. And so if certain courses are being suspended, it's like, okay, well, what's the need in the community now? So really appreciative of that. The one question I have is, you were talking about the carpentry techniques, and it sounds like it's been out for a little while. And I understand the methodology behind, because I know in terms of lawyers, we need to article before you get to get called to the bar and so forth. At least that's the way it was years ago. And what I'm wondering is that sometimes I wonder in terms of the employer's take on it. So if you do, and I'm not criticizing or saying anything negative about this carpentry techniques. I'm curious though, from what you hear, is that if I'm a student and I go through the carpentry techniques and I do my first year, are the employers receptive to Ron Jerva doing all of that, as opposed to talking to Uncle Fred or whatever, and being able to say, I already did my hours with Uncle Fred. So I'm just curious about that, as to employers' receptiveness to that type of way of doing things.
So we, as part of the program, the hours that they do are with the local businesses. And we make those connections largely through the Community Employment Services Office with Brent Dick and his team. And so they provide us with connections to employers that are looking for workers, and we have students that are looking for work. And a lot of those connections are made. So it's, if you want to call it a placement, they do go out to the local businesses that are looking to hire, and they get a placement student who then does a great job, and then they may have a job at the end of it to stay in and continue to work on their apprenticeship potentially.
And for students who complete the Carpentry and Renovation Techniques Certificate Program, as an example, we have the local employers who, when the end of April comes around, they are reaching out to see who our graduates are, so that they can snap them up, because there is quality. Our graduates have that, there is that awareness that our graduates are quality. And so employers know that we are a go-to to ensure that they're getting the workforce that they need to make sure that they are providing quality service and products here in the community.
Councillor Purcell?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your presentation. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person today. I just want to do a shout out just to Adam Johns and the carpentry and renovation program. This past year, they actually completed a shed for the library, and brought it in situ, which was pretty difficult if you look at the location of the current shed, up at this ramp and hill, and had to remove some signage actually to get the shed in. So it certainly was with its challenges, but definitely they delivered. So also, as Parks and Rec Vice Chair, the program also provides us with, benches and bleachers and picnic tables for Parks and Rec. And I know anytime that we kind of reach out to Algonquin College is nothing but a collaborative spirit, and looking at how we can augment and support each other. So I think one of the things that really stands out, and I was a graduate of Algonquin College. My wife was a nurse for over 40 years in the area, and also a graduate from Algonquin College as well. Just saying that, the collaboration that is done with paramedic services, long-term care, providing nursing supports, supporting our nuclear research industry, such as, the decommissioning grad certification. Coming from a CNL, and I think there's probably a vacancy of about 250 good paying jobs there right now. And having the ability to get that training in our area and be employed in the area is fantastic. So I think, we even saw as part of the health committee in terms of long-term care, where we're using contracted services to provide services for the elderly and in terms of long-term care for the elderly. And now we're actually fulfilling those positions with a lot of local employment instead of paying, high contractor fees. So that's really working out well. So I just wanted to kind of, reiterate, the benefits that we get from having the college here. And I truly do believe, somebody that graduated back in the 80s and did an apprenticeship way back when, in terms of a tool and die mechanical engineering apprenticeship, we need a trade school. That's where those jobs are located. Those jobs are now plumbers, HVAC, electricians, carpentry. Try to actually get a hold of those trades to perform some of these jobs that people have or projects. We have one of the biggest construction projects happening up at Canadian Nuclear Laboratories. The biggest infrastructure project in Canada right now being built. And, there's such a demand for skilled trades. And if we can provide students an opportunity to give them some basic education in terms of safety, how to complete a task, what working is all about in those specific fields, and provide them the basic information so that way there, when they do work with employers and get a true apprenticeship, they're set up for success. So I think you guys are doing a fantastic job. I know that running the colleges has its challenges, and I think we just need to continue with the momentum that we have, showing the value of the services, and those value of the services are really evident in terms of the collaborations that you've built over the years. So kudos to you guys, and continue the hard work. And I really would like to see some sort of trades school that would be located here. We saw that Perth shut down its trades school. There's actually a real need for that type of education. So that way there we can actually, provide those services such as those HVAC technicians, the plumbers, electricians, for these very specific projects. And these are great paying jobs. Before everybody wanted to be a lawyer or a doctor, and now it seems like the tradespeople, when I see what HVAC technicians make, it's like, wow, the trades is where is that? So, I mean, this is where we really need to educate people and provide them those skill sets. So thank you very much for your presentation today. We really appreciate all you do for our community.
Anyone
Thank you.
else on council? I would like to ask a couple small questions. You were asking about are there new opportunities or whatever. I'm just looking at the federal government's indication that they'll be putting billions of dollars into the military. And I mean, we have probably one of the largest bases just down the road from us. And I know there has been some interaction between the college and D&D in the past. But if I can recall, a few years ago, 20 young men and women were at the Pembroke Airport through the Royal Canadian Air Cadet Association. They were taking their private pilot's license ticket. And they took all the training there. And I believe the program was subsidized by D&D. But what I'm wondering now is there any way that, there could be the college and D&D, part and parcel, have a flying school of some nature with instruction at the college? We have an airport just down the road. We've got an airport, I believe, in Arnprior and Renfrew as well. It's fine for that type of flying. And a lot of those young people that graduated from the flying scholarship courses went on to other things, whether it was to join D&D and become, try and become a pilot, fly jets, or to fly with the OPP or the Department of Forestry, and even to find their own private pilot's license and fly as outfitters in the north. So there's some opportunity there. Has any consideration been given to, especially when you have 427 Squadron and 450 Helicopter Squadron on the base, with many pilots that retire at a young age, and they're still capable, perhaps, of providing that type of training in a civilian role? Has that ever been considered?
No, I can say that hasn't come up in discussions. We have been meeting with the base commander, Colonel Trenholm, and we've been exploring ideas. We're sort of navigating that. So the Canadian Armed Forces is getting an influx of money, and it's kind of like, where do we start? What do we need? And we're sort of in that phase right now with a new commander in place to have those discussions, to look at what the needs are for Garrison Petawawa, and for us to find a niche in there where we can meet those needs. It doesn't have to be, although it's very valuable that we support veterans and those releasing with furthering their education. But what I had said to the commander was I would like to see more engagement with those that are current members, and how can we support them in their military career. And so those may be ways, whether it would be that we get some of them teaching some of courses, like if flying is definitely something that is needed and we can justify it, then it's definitely something that we can explore. There may be many other areas that we haven't even got to yet where we can support. So there's lots of discussions happening. We're allowing them to sort of look around now that the dust is settled. He just came in the summer to sort of look at what those needs are. I know with the infrastructure that is happening on Garrison Petawawa, there is a lot of the need for the trades that has come up. So that's one area we've been really trying to focus on. But the PLARing of military members releasing and PLARing their military training, we're currently working on sort of not that we haven't given them credit for their military training, but it's been not a very seamless process for people releasing. And it's trying to measure up the sort of the objectives of the military training with the course learning outcomes of the college education system. So we're trying to sort of bridge that divide and allow for a bit more of a seamless transition for those wanting to come in, and allowing them to PLAR a lot of the training, the valuable training that they've gotten in the military.
The Perth, sorry,
prior learning and recognition.
the Perth campus, is that the one that they were closing? I don't know if I got the wrong campus. Has that had an impact on your student enrollment? And is the campus closed now, or are they in the process of closing in Perth?
The doors are planned to shut in spring, so they are still open at the moment, but they have stopped doing intakes. The population at the Perth campus, I don't have numbers at the top of my head, but I know there was a very small student population. We are probably 3 times the size of them.
Okay. A couple
Yeah.
other little things, and then I'll sign off. I noticed the indicator of 11% Indigenous population at the campus. And watching things nationally across the country, there seems to be a need for the retention of Indigenous native language. Is there a school that promotes Indigenous language instruction?
I would say not that I'm aware of in terms of a colonial school system.
Okay.
I would think that there is some language training within the reserves, within those programs that they may offer. It is also a very difficult subject to sort of say, well, we're going to come in and we're going to teach you how to speak your language.
understand that.
Yes, there is support. There would be definitely, if there's some way we at the college could support that, but it would have to be led by the Indigenous people.
And one other small thing, and I'll close. The nursing program is a fabulous program. And I noticed the statistics, I think 56% was from India. I know I met a little gal from India, works around at a little corner store around the corner from where I live. And I often engage her and I say, well, what are you doing? She says, I'm taking a nursing course at Algonquin. And she's got this big smile, and she loves Canada, and she loves the way she's treated in our community. And she relayed that to me. And I asked her if she was lonely. She's halfway around the world from her parents, not thinking with the electronic age, you've got FaceTime, etc. But anyways, it's a wonderful program, and she's really looking forward to graduating and perhaps staying here to nurse somehow. She thinks Canada's just a fabulous place, which it is. If there's nothing further, thank you very much for your report. We are very lucky to have a campus of this caliber in our community, in our country, not just Pembroke, but here in our nation. So thank you for sharing those wonderful stats with us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for welcoming us tonight.
You're welcome. Director Soriel and Mr. Hutton, we're here on our new business for the Ontario Regulation 257/25 as of right setback variation. Could you bring us up to date, Ms. Soriel? And
Good evening.
Mr. Hutton?
So this report is to provide the Planning and Development Committee with information regarding recent changes to the Planning Act. The province of Ontario recently made an amendment to the Planning Act under Ontario Regulation 257/25, which allows buildings and structures to be closer to property boundaries without needing a minor variance. So the regulation came into force in November, and under this regulation, buildings and structures may be constructed closer to property boundaries up to 90% of the required zoning setbacks without requiring a minor variance. So, for example, what that would mean in our present city zoning bylaw, right now we require a 20-foot front yard depth. If somebody came and asked for a relief to 18 feet, that would meet within that 10%, so they wouldn't need a minor variance. We have some concerns with that. I mean, with a reduced front yard of 18 feet, we could see some cars maybe overhanging onto city property. Another example, our zoning bylaw requires a 4-foot wide setback for a side yard for single, detached, and semi-detached dwellings, as well as accessory buildings. So this means the setback can be reduced to 3.6 feet without the need for a minor variance. So the intent of the new regulation, according to the province, is to reduce the volume of minor variance applications and permit more development as of right. So further, if the applicant is looking to reduce rear yard, front yard, and side yard, they would be eligible for as of right reduction of 10% for each yard. So it's not just for one. So again, the City of Pembroke's Planning Department staff has concerns with these changes. We are of the opinion that this approach is eliminating setback requirements by 10% may have unintended consequences that make the application for zoning standards unnecessarily complex, less transparent, and less understandable to the public. And in the future, we're going to have really good notes to know that it was under this section that the zoning setbacks didn't apply. So even small variances or several variances may have an undue impact that would require the Committee of Adjustment to look at it on a site-specific basis. Like, for example, creating required setbacks in zoning bylaws may relate to factors such as implementing separation distances from sensitive land uses. We'd want to ensure that protecting adequate paths for travel for fire and EMS, for an example, to gain access to a rear yard garden suite wasn't impacted. Required vehicle maneuvering and parking space dimensions all would have to be looked at. But in this case, all the setbacks would be allowed to be a reduction of 10%. So under the financial implications, there could be some expected loss of revenue from minor variance applications with this new regulation, allowing buildings and structures to be located closer to property boundaries without the need for a minor variance application. I did look at our 2025 minor variance applications, and there were none that would have been impacted. They were all more than 10%, but that's not to say that that might not be the case in 2026. So we could see some loss in revenues from those applications.
Questions of Ms. Soriel from council, your worship?
Just a quick question in terms of, not so much in terms of the concerns about, getting to the back of a property and that sort of thing, but from a fire department's perspective, I'm just wondering whether there was any discussion with our fire chief about how close the new homes are then going to be in proximity to each other. I recall the fire chief once saying that the older homes don't burn as fast as the newer ones because of the construction materials and so forth. Just curious as to whether or not there was any discussion with the fire chief, or whether I just take that offline to have that discussion.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we will be in discussions. This just came across our desk just before, so we will be in discussions with operations department, with the fire department as well, to see what their concerns are.
Other members of council, questions, comments?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item, request for sign bylaw relief, 638 Pembroke Street East, ground sign, Director Soriel.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Owen's going to.
Thank you.
will do
Hand it over to you, Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So a sign permit application has been received from Hiran Patel for his business, Hillside Inn at 638 Pembroke Street East. This application was originally submitted for replacement signage to replace the existing pylon sign at the property. So according to the sign bylaw, a pylon sign shall mean a sign supported and placed upon standards or poles with the base of the sign not resting upon the ground, and further, that the bottom of the sign shall not be closer than 8 feet to the ground. This is because pylon signs are permitted to be erected immediately up to a property line, no setback required, because by the nature of their construction and by that definition, visibility is not impaired, as you can see between the pylons. Now, based on the submitted drawings for this sign, the planning department determined that the proposed replacement sign did not meet the aforementioned definition for a pylon sign, but that it would instead be considered and meet the definition for a ground sign. Now, unlike a pylon sign, a ground sign does require a setback of 5 feet from an applicable property line, because it does fully obstruct visibility by its definition and configuration. And this is also why the height limit for a ground sign is much lower than the height limit for a pylon sign. So the planning department has noted 2 contraventions of the sign bylaw with this application. The first being that the proposed height of the sign is 13.7 feet, which is higher than that for a ground sign of 8 feet, and that the proposed sign has an area of 137 square feet, which is larger than the permitted 53.8 square feet. So following this initial response from the planning department, Mr. Patel has requested relief from these 2 provisions of the sign bylaw so that the sign may be erected as originally proposed. The planning department does support this request in this case because the proposed setback of the replacement sign from the front property line, it's only 3 feet. However, the road allowance of Pembroke Street East at this point is approximately 90 feet wide. This effectively sets the sign back approximately 20 feet from the sidewalk and approximately 30 feet from the road itself. This effective setback ensures that sightlines will not be impacted by the configuration of the proposed replacement sign. The operations department does not object to the proposed replacement sign, as it will not impact their operations. And finally, Mr. Patel has indicated that the proposed sign will benefit his business as it is visually pleasing, has curb appeal, and is in line with modern sign design aesthetics. These benefits can in turn attract more people to his business, supporting both the owners and employees and bringing money within the community. As such, the planning department does recommend that relief from sign bylaw 2014-46 be granted for 638 Pembroke Street East to allow for a ground sign with a setback of approximately 3 feet from the front property line to have a maximum height of 13.7 feet and a maximum area of 137 square feet.
Comments, Councillor Keel?
Literally nothing to add for all the reasons given. I would move that committee recommend in favor of the granted relief.
Moved by Councillor Keel that we approve the as presented, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Discussion? Councillor Purcell?
Just one comment in terms of Mr. Papel's property. He's done a great job in terms of, fixing the facade, the front facade of the building itself. So I just wanted to point that out, and I really don't have any concerns in regards to the location of the sign. Thank you.
Okay, further discussion? Seeing none, those in favor? Against? Carried unanimously. This will proceed. Thank you. Further business before this committee. I require a motion to adjourn, moved by His Worship, seconded by Councillor Keel. Those in favor? We are adjourned, and we will go to finance. Thank you.
Evening. Welcome to our Pembroke City Council Finance and Administration Committee meeting for Tuesday, January 6th. I'll call the meeting to order. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none. Motion to approve the agenda for tonight. Mayor Gervais, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? Carried. Approval of minutes from the Finance and Administration Committee meeting on December 2nd. Moved by Councillor Plummer, seconded by Councillor Keel. Those in favor? Carried. Business arising from those minutes? Seeing none. No delegations or presentations tonight. We'll move on to new business. We have our treasurer here, Ms. Lochte. Welcome. Happy New Year. Good to see you again. A, draft 2026 user fee bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening and Happy New Year, everybody. So the first report is on the draft 2026 user fee bylaw. So in step with the development of the 2026 budget, staff have reviewed the user fee bylaw and are recommending a number of changes which have primarily been included in the 2026 budget. Staff certainly appreciate council's desire to ensure that these fees maintain pace with inflation while still ensuring affordability and competitiveness with our neighboring municipalities and their fees and charges. So wherever possible, the fees contained in Schedules A, which is the administration fees, B, planning and building, and C, operations have been increased by 5% for 2026. The implementation dates for these fee changes vary based on departmental requirements and are defined in each section. And at the bottom of these sections, we have included a requirement to update these fees by CPI in future years. This doesn't preclude us from further revisiting these fees, but at least it's built in. We'll have a further discussion with the next term of council on this. So we have, just to keep the bylaw whole, we have updated Schedule E to reflect the fees approved by council in December. And I did have a discussion with the Parks and Recreation Director, Mr. DeRoche, and he will bring forward a report later in 2026 for their proposed 2027 fees for discussion. And this supports financial sustainability for the city, and the recommendation is that the Finance and Administration Committee endorse and recommend council approval of the draft 2026 user fee bylaw, and this bylaw has been included in tonight's council agenda.
Comments, motions? Councillor Keel?
So I guess the one thought that I have that I think I raised during budget is why we don't do this prior to budget. And so I'm just wondering whether we need a motion or, I mean, to me, this is probably a review that we should be looking at in maybe the mid-fall prior to budget so that we're actually setting these fees and then budgeting for them, and then they're also ready for the new year as opposed to March 1st. So I'm just wondering, would that tax things too much though if we're also in budget discussions at that point? Like, I don't want to overrun everybody while they're doing budget, but I do feel personally that we do this kind of backwards, and then yeah. So maybe that's the first question.
So that could be a staff direction, is to change the order. But I will say next year will be a bit complicated because it'll be a new council where we're doing the budgets a bit later. So I would say the first year of council can get a little complicated because we have to educate new members first. But certainly that's something that I could do moving forward, is included as a fall review. As we're deliberating the departmental budgets, and I can include it in the budget schedule for next year to have it as a line item.
I would like to see that. I don't know if there's other thoughts around the table. And then my only other question is, you and I met, I don't even remember when at this point, but in your wonderful corner office with a view of the bridge. I know that the other municipality, and you brought up a couple on the computer, that there's other municipalities that certainly have a lot more administrative charges. We were talking about, for instance, an administrative charge for property transfers and whatnot. So I guess I'm also asking if there would be time from your department this year to do a more comprehensive review of fees that our municipality could be recovering as a way to, balance against tax increases with new fees and fee increases. Instead, again, I've said it before, I am more of a user pay kind of person. Obviously, when we do a tax increase, that goes on everybody's shoulders. User fees are more on the shoulder, and user fees will never cover everything. We would never charge, for instance, in Parks and Rec, the cost of fully operating our Parks and Rec program. But it is a way to somewhat shift the burden of whatever we're doing onto the shoulder of the person that's actually doing it, taking it slightly off of the broader taxpayer shoulder. So I'm just wondering if that is also something that anybody else on this council would have interest in, which would be a broader review of those kinds of things. Because I think when we were looking, I think you did find examples of other municipalities that are charging an administrative fee when properties are transferred. For the others around the table, I know the deputy mayor was there, and then the CAO was there. Last year at Roma, we did have a delegation on this, which got shut down pretty quickly in terms of us charging our own land transfer tax. But the reality is, when there is a property transfer, as the treasurer told me, they have to go into their system. They have to check. Like, there's actual work. So it's not like I'm saying let's find a fee out of nowhere. There's actual work that we do that we don't get any compensation for every time a property is transferred, and the municipal rolls and the taxing and all that has to be done. And I think you said, Madam Treasurer, it's done on a, it's not an automated system. It has to be done by one of our clerks each time. So it's not like I'm talking about a fee out of nowhere. Somebody transfers a property, it creates work for us. We could potentially be charging a fee. And I think Madam Treasurer, I don't want to blame any part of Ontario, but I think she said in Southern Ontario they're perhaps a little better at the fee game than we currently are. I don't think she would, maybe I shouldn't have pointed fingers, but anyway, I'll leave it at that, but perhaps a more generalized fee review wouldn't be the worst thing for us either.
So through the chair, so there is two, based on my review, there's two, I guess, categories of fees that we haven't really gotten into because it's not something that's done like in the Renfrew County, but I have seen it, for example, in jurisdictions like Sarnia and sort of in the western part of Ontario. They have a bit more fees. So one of the, I guess, the higher volume fees, which would actually equate to some revenue just because of the sales turnover in the community, is to have an administration fee every time the ownership is changed on a property. As Councillor Keel has mentioned, we do have to update ownership, send out, like if there's money owing on the accounts, we'll have to send out arrears notices and that kind of thing to the new owner. So there is some work involved in that. I know my staff aren't, I guess, super excited about it because they just worry that, like, are we feeing people to death? But that's certainly, I guess, more of a topic for council to decide that. So I would say that's the main fee. I could come back with a report on that about what that could look like and how much revenue that could generate. So I could bring that up. I could bring a report in the spring on that if that's something council's interested in. The other one that's more tied to systems is some financial systems that other municipalities have allow you to charge an extra fee every time you print arrears notices. So there's two schools of thought on that one. The one is we already charge interest and that covers the collection costs of the municipality. Other people do actually charge for every letter that's sent, they'll charge a fee for it if it's related to unpaid taxes. And it's something that can be, that's kind of automated in behind the scenes. When you print out the arrears notices, it automatically adds a fee to the roll. So we don't have a system like that right now, but we could add that to our wish list for the next financial system that we have. So I would say those are two sort of main areas which I think would generate, a a larger amount of revenues than some of the smaller fees, but if council's interested, I could provide a background report on that for council discussion this year, if there's interest. So I'll pass it back.
We'll just take a quick consensus. Is that the desire of council for the treasurer to come back with a report on that? Councillor Plummer?
Well, I think it's always prudent to review fees from time to time. We haven't actually had a review like this before every time that I've sit on council, so I don't think it's a bad idea to, understand that there's a lot of, work that goes on in the back, behind the scenes, that maybe there is something for some cost recovery. So I don't think it's a bad exercise to go through.
Okay. Yes.
So I see the merit in it. On the first part, I'm still trying to think this through. So if I purchase a home, and you take it wouldn't be until after the lawyers, go through the transfer and so forth. So now I own the home, and I'm going to receive a letter from the city charging me a fee because the roll had to be updated. I don't know. I would look forward to a report. I'm just having a tough time, sort of mulling that one over. But I have no issue in terms of setting rates, and maybe it's like a lot of times the city of Pembroke is the one that sets the path, if you will, because I know often, as the treasurer is saying, that we're trying to look at other municipalities, what do they charge, and are we in the market, and that sort of thing. But if they don't set theirs until sometime later, maybe it's the city of Pembroke is setting the tone and setting what the rate is, knowing how much work is involved in it, and here's what the rate is, and maybe the other municipalities are going to follow us instead of the other way around. So, but yes. Yeah.
Councillor Purcell, did you want to comment on that? You like the idea of the report?
I like the idea in terms of having a report. I mean, it's an opportunity just to kind of see if there's any gaps and kind of see if there's any opportunity where we can bill back for services rendered. And also, if the treasurer would also put like a level of effort associated with it. It's one thing for clicking a button on a system, but I like to see it in terms of maybe just a scoring in terms of level of effort. Thank you.
Councillor Giacono? Okay. So the consensus is to come back with a report, as you indicated, in the spring or whenever, when you have time. Okay, so we have a request for a motion here. Councillor Keel?
I would move, what are we moving? That the Finance Administration Committee endorse and recommend council approval of the draft 2026 user fee bylaw.
Seconder? Councillor Plummer? Discussion? Those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item B, Reserve and Reserve Fund Policy, December 31st, 2025 update.
Okay, so this draft policy was presented, I believe, in November, and council did approve it with a few amendments, or I should say the committee approved it with a few amendments. When I went back to edit it, I ended up, I guess, rewording a few sections. So I know originally Section 4 was of particular concern because it was a bit confusing in terms of what level of decision was required for the different types of reserves. If a new reserve needed a bylaw or a resolution. So I did actually around the same time, a policy that Ms. Soriel brought forward. So I did sort of reorganize it a little bit. And just because I didn't just change 3 words in it, I am bringing it back just to make sure that committee is supportive of the editorial updates. And then if so, I will bring this back as a bylaw at the next meeting. So the recommendation is that the Finance and Administration Committee endorse and recommend council approval of the updated version of the Reserve and Reserve Fund Policy.
Comments, motions? Councillor Plummer?
No, I was just commenting. Councillor Purcell had his hand up. I don't know if you noticed.
Okay, Councillor Purcell, sorry about that.
Just wanted to move that we endorse and recommend to council approval of the updated version of the Reserve and Reserve Fund Policy.
Thank you. We have a seconder, Councillor Giacono. Discussion on the motion? Those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Last item for the treasurer, Ontario Regulation 284/09, 2025 budget report.
Okay, so This report comes forward every year to committee to endorse because the city's budgeting practices do not include depreciation, the cost of depreciation for our capital assets, our infrastructure, our post-employment benefits, and our solid waste landfill closure and post-closure expenses. So because we don't take this approach with our budgeting, we do need to provide a report that meets the requirements of Ontario Regulation 284/09, and a resolution is included in tonight's council agenda. Essentially, we have to show what our accumulated surplus would look like if we had included this as part of our budgetary practices. So this report is attached in an annex to my report. Really, the primary impact has to do with depreciation. So we don't include depreciation in our budgeting as it's a non-cash item, but we do include capital expenditures. So this is a accrual versus cash basis of accounting. So you're getting into the weeds of accounting a little bit here. Overall, if we look at our assets funded by the city through the tax levy, water and sewer rates of 5.8 million, as well as development charge funding of about 100,000 to the annual depreciation costs of 7.3. There is a funding gap of 1.9 million. We have talked about that in the budget. So again, ideally we should, because of our backlog, we probably should be contributing more than our depreciation towards capital projects. That being said, we do have other sources of revenue. We do have grants from the province that we receive annually to help close this gap. But again, this gap is something that we're going to continue to work on over the next few budget years. So the recommendation is that the Finance and Administration Committee endorse and recommend Council adopt OREG 284-09 resolution on the Council agenda later this evening.
I move that the Finance and Administration Committee endorse and recommend Council adopt the Ontario Regulation 284-09 resolution on the Council agenda later this evening.
Seconder, Councillor Plummer, discussion? Those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item D, 273 Victoria Street lease overview. I'll hand it over to our CEO, Mr. Unruh.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Chair. So I provided this report as directed through Council, just to provide an overview of the chronological events that led to the lease that was signed with the Grind of Pembroke and the City of Pembroke in June of 2020. So the recommendation, so I put that the council receives this information and provides direction to staff, but really this is an information report, so not really seeking direction. No CEO review, because the report was authored by myself, and no financial comment. So I won't go over all the points within the report, but just basic. 2019, September 17th, that at the Operations Committee meeting, a motion was passed that the Operations Committee provide and approve in principle the portion of the fire hall previously used by administration purposes be retained and made available for lease by the Grind/Community Kitchen, subject to negotiations with staff, and a report be brought back forward to committee. So that was really kind of the start of the process. There was a town hall meeting held on October 30th, 2019, to receive feedback from the public. On April 21st, 2020, on a combined committee meeting. So just a remind, probably don't need to, but council and the public that during this time, this was COVID, so a lot of the meetings turned into combined committee meetings, and also that they were virtual. So at that time, on April 21st, as directed by council, staff presented a net care-free lease agreement developed in conjunction with the city's solicitor. And then there was several points that were raised within the agreement. So the grind was also present during that meeting, had some comments, and one of the notes was that staff should work with the grind to come up with a new draft similar to the Pembroke 50 plus, but not placing the city in a position where taxpayers are taking on costs for social services. Agreement needs to be net care-free lease. Taxpayers should not bear any burden. So the direction provided to staff was that the combined committee direct staff to continue negotiations with the grind to arrive at the next draft lease agreement that will work for both parties. So on 2020, June 16th, at a combined committee meeting, staff provided a report to committee on the former fire hall, 273 Victoria Street. The lease presented was negotiated between the City of Pembroke and the grind with the following points. The current estimate of contamination is found at $31,200. The grind Pembroke would be responsible for removal of the existing oil interceptor. The cost to patch the boreholes could be done in conjunction with that. However, there may be a minimum cost to the city to put earth back in and concrete, but staff do not know the cost at this time. The current estimate for severance of the property is upwards of $4,000, $1,500 for legal as well as $2,500 for survey. Remediation costs, if required, could come from various budgets, however, would have to be determined based on what is required. The lease contains an option to buy after 5 years based on the 2020 assessment values. With respect of the separation of the property, there is nothing in the lease requiring a fence behind the old fire hall. However, it is something staff could discuss with the grind. Neighbors are concerned about safety, and that will be addressed. There is a section in the lease that provides for rules. The CEO could employ certain rules for the safety of the community. The grind indicated that it is their intention to use the Victoria Street as their main entrance. Staff could discuss with the grind that if the city preference that they use Victoria Street as their entrance to mitigate concerns of the seniors and neighbors. But the back entrance of the building, $1 nominal fee for rent is not appropriate. It was just noted, but that's what was included. The lease is by no means free for the grind. The expenses related to them moving into the building that they are covering easily equal $500 to $600 per month, including upfront costs to get the building ready and for occupancy to their needs. They're also paying heat, lights, and everything else that is related to the use of that building. So that was the notes that were in the minutes of that meeting on June 16th, and a motion was passed that the committee approves the city entering into the attached lease with the grind Pembroke. So subsequently, on the same night at the council meeting, a bylaw 2020-43 was passed. So just in the discussion, the previous CEO had not provided any additional comments on the above process at the time of authoring this report. Just noted that the agreement was fast-tracked during the COVID-19 pandemic at the request of the grind Pembroke, and that, taking a look at the process, a couple of things, would be recommendations that we would come forward as staff, but that already have been implemented, is that all lease agreements should be vetted by the City of Pembroke solicitor, and bylaws should not be brought forward the same evening as the committee report to allow council contemplation on the committee report. So that was one of the things that was implemented, I think in 2023, that we try to the best of our ability, to bring a report forward, and then at least 2 weeks prior, and then the following bylaw would be brought forward. So that is my report. If there's any questions?
Thank you, CEO Onrod. Any questions? No questions? So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Counted by Councillor Plummer, seconded by Councillor Keogh. Those in favor, we are adjourned.
Evening, everyone. I'd like to call this council meeting to order for January 6th. I would ask those who wish to please take an opportunity to stand for an opening prayer or reflection. Before opening this meeting of council, I would ask those who wish, each in your own way, silently join in a prayer of guidance over these proceedings. Thank you. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest in relation to the items on this council meeting agenda? Seeing none. We have a series of different minutes to work our way through. First is the approval of minutes from council of regular meeting of council December 16th last year. Moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Those in favor? That is carried. Adoption of minutes. First up, we have Planning and Development Committee, December 2nd, 2025, moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Jackin. All those in favor? That is carried. Then it brings us to the Finance and Administration Committee, same date, December 2nd, 2025, moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Those in favor? That is carried. And there's no delegations or presentations this evening, bringing us to Staff and Committee Report. Deputy Mayor, Ontario Regulation 28409.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ian Keel. Be it resolved that the Corporation of the City of Pembroke Council endorse and approve Annex A to this resolution titled Ontario Regulation 284/09, Report 2025-284/09, accumulated surplus as presented for the purposes of Ontario Regulation 284/09, acknowledge the excluded expenses and their estimated impact on the 2025 accumulated surplus, and direct staff to file and post the report with the 2025 budget materials.
Thank you. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Keel. Be it resolved that the Corporation, the City of Pembroke Council, endorse and approve Annex A to this resolution entitled OREG 28409, Report 2025 Accumulated Surplus as presented for the purpose of the Ontario Regulation 28409, acknowledge the excluded expenses and their estimated impact on the 2025 accumulated surplus, and direct staff to file and post this report with the 2025 budget materials. Deputy Mayor.
Your Worship, this was presented by Treasurer early tonight during Finance Committee, and it meets the Ontario Regulation as detailed in the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Moving ahead to bylaws. First bylaw for this evening is 2026-01, borrowing bylaw. Councillor Jackinham.
Thank you, Your Worship. Members of Council, moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Brian Abdallah, that bylaw 2026-01 to provide for current borrowing for the City of Pembroke for the year 2026 be adopted and passed, and further that said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the Corporation and awaiting your signature.
Councillor Jack, CAO, thank you, Councillor Jackinham. Moved by Councillor Jackinham, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Bylaw 2026-01 to provide for the current borrowing of the City of Pembroke for the year 2026 be adopted and passed, and further said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the Corporation. Councillor Jackinham.
Thank you, Your Worship. From time to time, the Corporation needs to borrow money, and if there are emergency procedures as well, we may have to borrow money in unforeseen circumstances. So this bylaw establishes that role. Thank you.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Next is 2025-02, interim levy. Councillor Keel.
Moved by myself, seconded by the Deputy Mayor, that bylaw 2026-02 to provide for an interim tax levy for the year 2026 be adopted and passed, and further that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the Corporation.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by the Deputy Mayor, that bylaw 2026-02 to provide for the interim tax levy for the year 2026 be adopted and passed, and further said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the Corporation. Councillor Keel.
Your Worship, to be quick, this allows us to send out the initial interim tax bills to the residents of the City of Pembroke, so that the City of Pembroke can generate some money for the first part of the year before the budget is fully passed and the rates are fully set.
Very good. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Last bylaw for this evening is 2025-03, user fees. Councillor Palmer.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Abdallah, that bylaw 2026-03 establish fees and changes on persons for payment of municipal services, activities, and use of municipal property for the city of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and for the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and seal of the corporation.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Plummer, seconded by the Deputy Mayor, that bylaw, Deputy Mayor is busy this evening, that bylaw 2026-03 to establish fees and charges on persons for payment of the municipal services, activities, and use of municipal property for the city of Pembroke be adopted and passed. And further, that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Plummer.
It's just a bylaw to update our user fees across the city.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Moving forward on the agenda, bringing us to the mayor's report. So happy New Year, everyone, and welcome back. As it is now wintertime and that there is some amount of ice on the rivers and lakes, I want to encourage everyone to be mindful of the thickness of the ice and that it may not necessarily be safe. I recognize that there's those who wish to do ice fishing, my son being one of them, but I want to ensure that everyone be mindful of the amount of ice, and then at times, given the location and so forth, it may not be safe to do so, and everyone should be mindful of that. Additionally, we've been receiving our share of winter recently with snow, rain, and any mix of different types of precipitation, and I would ask that individuals please respect city vehicles and crews as they plow the streets and sidewalks, and again, please be safe. In regards to this, I understand that the city will be engaging in snow removal along our main street and other areas in keeping with our city policies, and I wanted to ensure that that the public knows that we are aware that of the snowbanks, and it will be taken care of in the next couple of weeks. As previously stated, I am sure that we've all heard about the rise in flu hospitalizations and concerns regarding healthcare, and I want to encourage everyone to stay safe, wash your hands, consider getting the shot if you're of a mind to do so, and just be respectful of one another, as there are certain individuals that are vulnerable in our population, and sometimes you're venturing into their home as opposed to them coming to you, and just being mindful of that. On New Year's Day, it was my pleasure to attend the Legion's New Year's Levy, and Pembroke Branch 72 is always an active organization in our community, and certainly did not disappoint on that day with the levy and the provision of moose milk. And on today, myself and the CAO took part in a gift presentation that took place between the Circle of Turtle Lodge, and the individual who gifted this piece of artwork is Bradley McDonald, aka Dreamwalker. And so it was certainly a great opportunity to meet with different individuals of Circle of Turtle Lodge and others as we facilitate this piece of artwork being hosted here at City Hall until such time as the Circle of Turtle Lodge has a suitable place to have that piece of artwork. I certainly view this as an opportunity as we as a municipality continue to work on this journey with the Indigenous population and reconciliation. As always, stay safe and be kind to one another. Are there any notices of motion this evening? Seeing none, are there any councillor updates? Councillor Giacono?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just comment, we have before us this quarterly roads, Good Roads Quarterly magazine. It will now be discontinued as we move towards more sophisticated electronic communication. This publication has gone from a high glossy, expensive magazine to a recycled paper magazine, and now it's recycled itself right out of existence because of the modern technology that we have. But it also provided over a number of years to many different councils a quick overview of what was happening in paving and new equipment, etc. So it was a guide that most councillors would look at. We'll still be able to look at the information that's provided by this quarterly magazine online. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Purcell?
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to announce that Don Peaver had passed away at the Pembroke Regional Hospital on December 26, 2025. Mr. Peaver was had a history of volunteerism for the city of Pembroke. He sat on various committees such as the library board and is most recently the accessibility advisory committee, which I'm the chair of. So I just wanted to give my condolences to the Peaver family. And there is a memorial service that's going to be held in Pembroke on May the 18th, and there will be a celebration of life to follow. So again, our condolences to the Peaver family.
Thank you, Councillor Purcell. Councillor Giacono.
Your Worship, members of council, just on the tails of the comments by Councillor Purcell, I had a privilege of working with Don Peaver for a number of years with the Air Cadet Squadron. Donnie Peaver was a 50-year volunteer. Showed up every Wednesday night at the Pembroke Armories, ensuring that those young people had a pop. He worked the canteen, a pop or a bag of chips. He was always there, rain or shine. So he'll be missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Your Worship, I have a few items tonight. I went to the Wayne Rodstad December 17th Festival Hall show. My wife and I, when we ran Green Tomato Productions, we had the opportunity, the privilege of bringing him here 3 times, so we became good friends. And I met him before the show, and we had a discussion about how he loved Pembroke and how he loved the Festival Hall, the many changes that have been taking place. So I just want to once again commend everyone that works at Festival Hall, volunteers, and Councillor Keel, you're the rep, and they're doing a fantastic job. And you know, it's very, we did over 30 shows there when we had the business, and it's really improved on leadership of Rick Wharton and now Dorian Pierce. And we're very fortunate in Pembroke to have an arts facility like that, especially with the new chairs, the new lighting that's coming, the nice sound system we have. So very fortunate. We sponsored a skate at the PMC last week, and I want to shout out to the Parks and Rec staff. The kind rink attendant was there. The ice looks great, the PMC looks great, and they take care of all the facilities, so we want to shout out to them. Last night at 260 Elizabeth, we had a community watch meeting. We meet there twice a year because it's a special case where there's 60 residents in the building, and some of them have mobility issues to get out. They don't have a vehicle. So I want to thank the mayor for coming, as he always does, co-chair the program with me. And I want a special thank to Steve Halpenny. Community Watch has been going on for over 6 years now, and Steve Halpenny and his wife have stepped up. And Steve Halpenny is the coordinator of all the zones, does the newsletter, and coordinates the email. So we want to thank him for his volunteerism. And I want to echo Councillor Purcell and Donnie Peaver. Very, very good man, good volunteer, community person. And I want to read some. We had a passing in our community of Charlie Butler and his wife Betty over the holidays, and I wrote up this tribute for him. Just want to read it. Deepest sympathies are extended to the Butler family on the passing of Charlie and his wife Betty, 2 pillars of our community whose legacy will be felt for generations. Their lives of hard work, kindness, and quiet generosity helped shape Pembroke into the caring, community-minded city it is today. Charlie was the definition of a self-made man, building a respected presence in the local car business over many decades and earning the trust from across Pembroke, the Valley, Ontario, and Canada. From the early days of bringing his passion for cars home to Pembroke in the 1960s, through the growth of his dealerships and related businesses, he created jobs, supported families, and helped anchor our commercial community along Pembroke Street West. Charlie was more than a businessman. What set him apart was that for him, people always came before the deal. Mary and I can recall many times, most recently during COVID, sitting in his office where the conversation quickly turned from numbers and models to life, family, and the community we all care so deeply about. Those visits were never rushed. He always made time to ask how things were really going. How are your mothers? How are you doing? What's going on? To share a story or to offer a bit of friendly advice drawn from a lifetime of experience. In those moments, it was clear that Charlie's greatest investment was not in the vehicles or buildings, but in relationships and in the well-being of the people who walked through his door. Through his business success, Charlie helped strengthen the broader Pembroke and area community, supporting local causes, sports, events, and organizations in ways that often went unheralded, but never unnoticed by those who benefited. He and his wife were part of a generation of local business leaders who believed that if you made your living in a community, you had a responsibility to give back to it in return. Their example encouraged others to step up, sponsor, volunteer, and contribute, helping to build the strong community spirit that Pembroke is known for today. The presence of the Butler name in our business community has long stood for hard work, integrity, and commitment to service on and off the lot. For Mary and me, and others in the community, everyone, the memories that stand out are not of contracts signed, but of the laughter, stories, and genuine conversation shared in Charlie's office over the years. He had that rare ability to make you feel like the most important person in the room, no matter how busy the day, and that warmth extended far beyond his customer base to friends, staff, and strangers alike. The world, and especially our community of Pembroke, is a better place because of the lives that Charlie and his wife chose to live. Grounded, generous, and focused on people over profit. Their legacy will live on in the families they raised, the business they built, and the countless lives they touched along the way. Heartfelt condolences are extended to the entire Butler family during this difficult time. May you find comfort in knowing how deeply respected and appreciated Charlie and his wife were by this community, and that Pembroke shares in your grief and gratitude for their remarkable lives. Thank you, Your Worship.
Well said. Any other, Councillor Keel?
Thank you, Your Worship. In terms of prior to the holidays, I was very happy to attend the ACE grand opening with yourself. The CAO was there. What a wonderful turnaround for the West End. I guess Plaza now used to be the West End Mall. I know, sometimes I think we here in Pembroke can get a little down on ourselves. We can be a little rough, and I certainly know that frankly, even only a couple years ago, there were a lot of people questioning where the West End Mall was going, and now you see a number. Pizza Hut has moved in there, Ace, Mega Bins, Moby's. The mall has really turned itself around over the last few years. So yet another really interesting business opening up here in the city of Pembroke. The Deputy Mayor brought up Wayne Rostad, and that was a truly excellent concert. The Mayor and I were able to attend with Mr. Rostad that earlier in the day that afternoon, where we presented him with a gift from the city of Pembroke, which he seemed very grateful for, and certainly I would agree with the Deputy Mayor, very happy to come to the city of Pembroke. My grandfather and Wayne Rostad's father were both truck drivers, so I was able to tell them how my grandfather would always talk about meeting with Wayne Rostad's father at the Antrim truck stop while they were out on the road, and certainly he seems just a real down-to-earth person, and we sort of interrupted his pre-show, but then we couldn't get away from him. He wanted to chat so much. So thank you, Your Worship, for attending that one. In terms of the Festival Hall update, later this month, Saturday or Wednesday, January 21st, Hotel California, the original tribute to the Eagles. Tickets selling very well for that one in a couple weeks' time. And then at the end of the month, Saturday, January 31st, Tommy Youngstein, the very best of Creedence Clearwater Revival tribute. That rounds out the month. Already, just a few days in, there's 29 shows scheduled for 2026, and I can tell you that is not even close to being all of them. I was able to speak with our Festival Hall director, Dorian Pierce, over the holidays, and there's still a number of shows to be added to the calendar. Everything from our normal dance recitals and the PSO and those that make Festival Hall their regular home, to, of course, a number of tribute acts coming up. Steve-O is coming next month. We have almost a sold-out show. Tickets sold so quickly they added a second show the same night. So there's I think there's 3 tickets available for the first show, and then there's tickets available for the later evening show, which I think is 9:30. And I will have, Your Worship, a larger 2025 year-end report in the coming weeks, as soon as all the statistics and information from 2025 are in. But needless to say, 2026 is certainly shaping up to be an even bigger year, if that's possible, than last year. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Are there any other reports? Seeing none. Councillor Jacquino, you have a motion to move into a closed session?
I do, Your Worship. Motion for council to move into a caucus meeting on January 6, 2026. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Brian Abdallah, that this meeting become a closed meeting to discuss litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality as per Section 239, subsection 2-E of the Municipal Act as it relates to 273 Victoria Street.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Jacquino, seconded by the Deputy Mayor, that this meeting become a closed meeting to discuss litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality as per Section 239(2)(E) of the Municipal Act as it relates to 273 Victoria Street. Those in favor? That is carried. We will now move into a closed session.